Asterisk, asterisk, and my son took my pension and left for Europe with his new girlfriend, leaving me with an empty fridge and utility bills I couldn't pay. Asterisk, asterisk, he returned 2 months later, tanned, relaxed, with new tattoos and designer sunglasses, convinced I would be waiting with tears of gratitude for the cheap magnet with the Eiffel Tower he bought, especially for Mom. But when he opened the freezer to get ice for his welcome home gin and tonic, he froze, not metaphorically. Literally froze for a good 7 seconds. Greetings. Dear listeners, before I tell you how one September morning I stopped being a walking ATM with feelings, I would like to ask for your support that please like this video. Subscribe to the channel and write in the comments which city or country you're listening from right now. It really warms me to see how many of us there are. Tired but not yet broken. And now, the story. The last thing Andrew said before closing the door was, "Mom, don't dramatize. You have potatoes in the basement and a jar of pickles from last year. You'll survive. And anyway, doctors say fasting is good for cleansing the body at your age." He said it with that condescending half-smile he had perfected over the last 3 years. The smile of an adult son explaining life to a backward old woman. Then he left, with my entire monthly pension plus the money I had been saving for 3 years for a new hearing aid. The old one squeaked like a dying cricket. Another $400 I borrowed from my neighbor Aunt Lita, just in case. He left for Lisbon gives. Barcelona gives Rome. 30-2 selfies a day. Restaurants with views, hotels with infinity pools. I was left with 4. Potatoes, already sprouting. Half a jar of cloudy pickles. A packet of black tea that had been open since spring. Electricity that would be cut off in 9 days and the 9th day. I didn't go to the basement for the last potato. Instead, I went down to the basement for a different reason. There, behind the old wardrobe that hadn't been moved since 1998, stood 2 huge travel trunks. The ones my late husband brought from Germany in 1992. Inside were things I had never worn and never allowed anyone to touch. Porcelain coffee service for 24 people. Wedding gift from my mother-in-law silverware, also wedding. Never used my wedding dress. Preserved like in a museum. 3 fox fur coats, 1 short, 2 long. Grandmother's amber beads, thick. Dark, heavy like small potatoes. Gold watch, men's. My husband's stopped at 317 on the day he died, and many other just-in-case things. I sat on a stool among the dust and spiders, and for the first time in 23 years, allowed myself to think one forbidden thought out loud. Why am I keeping all this? For whom? The next morning, a man named Taras arrived, a buyer of antiques and vintage items. Calm, polite, no unnecessary sentimentality. He looked through the trunks like a jeweler. Looks through stones. 3 hours later, I had in my hands enough money to pay all overdue. Bills with a margin, enough to buy a new modern hearing aid, the one that connects to the phone via Bluetooth. Enough to order groceries I hadn't allowed myself in 15 years. The first thing I bought was not bread. It was cold smoked salmon. Mascarpone, fresh raspberries in the middle of September. Pistachio ice cream and a bottle of Prosecco. Didn't eat it in the kitchen at the old oilcloth. I spread a white damask tablecloth, also from the trunk, on the living room table. Took out the porcelain coffee service. Lit a candle that had been waiting for a special guest since 2007. I ate slowly. Each bite tasted like rebellion. 2 months and 3 days. Later, Andrew returned. He walked in without knocking. He still had the key. Threw his backpack in the hallway. Sniffed the air and frowned. Why does it smell like perfume here? Then he went to the kitchen with the confident gait of a man who knows there will always be something in his mother's fridge. He opened the freezer to get ice, and he froze. On the top shelf, neatly arranged like soldiers, 6 boxes of premium ice cream, pistachio salted caramel, blackcurrant sorbet, 2 containers of frozen lobster tails, several packages of Wagyu beef, a whole row of frozen raspberries and blackberries, 3 bottles of Grey Goose vodka lying horizontally on the middle shelf, cheeses he had never seen in real life. On the bottom, vacuum-packed black caviar, king crab legs, truffle paste. The refrigerator hummed contentedly. Like a well-fed cat, Andrew slowly closed the door dot, then opened it again, then closed it once more. Mom, what the hell? I was sitting at the table, drinking espresso from a tiny porcelain cup and watching Netflix on a brand new tablet, also bought with the sale of 1 fox fur coat. Welcome home, son, I said very calmly. How was Europe? He pointed at the fridge like it had personally offended him. Where did you get money for this? I sold things, I answered, taking another sip. Your grandmother's amber, my wedding service, Dad's watch, 2 fur coats. The third one I kept. Winter is coming. He blinked several times as if trying to reboot his brain, but those were family heirlooms, memory. You always said I said many things, I interrupted him softly. Mostly that one must save, endure, wait. I saved. I endured. I waited, and then I got tired. Andrew turned pale. Very slowly, it began to dawn on him that the refrigerator full of delicacies was not a sign of sudden wealth, but a tombstone over his future easy life. You sold everything for food? His voice cracked. No, Andrew, not for food. For the right to decide myself what I eat, when I sleep, whether I turn on the heating in October or walk around in a sweater, for the right not to count every hryvnia while you post stories from restaurants with 3 Michelin stars. He stood at the middle of the kitchen, tanned, handsome, completely lost. And what am I supposed to do now? He asked almost in a whisper. I put the cup on the saucer dot, very quiet clink. You can start by buying your own groceries in your own apartment and your own future, because the one you were counting on. I ate it with a small silver spoon dot. It was delicious, by the way, especially with caviar. He left the same evening, didn't even unpack. I didn't cry. I just opened the freezer, took out the pistachio ice cream, sat on the windowsill wrapped in the last remaining fox fur coat, and ate straight from the container dot. It was cold dot, sweet dot, and incredibly, stunningly mine. That's the whole story. Dear listeners, a story about the moment when a person finally understands. You can give children everything except the last right to your own life. What do you think? Was I too cruel? Or had the time for cruelty already come much earlier, when year after year I was silently feeding someone else's life with mine? Write in the comments. I'm very interested in your opinion, Dot, and of course, which city are you listening from today? If this story resonated with you even a little, please support the channel with a like and subscription. There are still many stories ahead about people who one day simply stopped apologizing for wanting to. Live Dot with love and respect until the next story.